Welcome back to another edition of the Five Tool Baseball Podcast. Happy Thursday and happy Major League Baseball opening day. Yes, it's here. The lockout was miserable, but they figured out a way to get it done, to get a condensed spring training in, and we're going to have baseball today, weather permitting in some areas. I'll never quite understand why we can't schedule some of these teams in places where it's covered or it's warmer. Like, does Minnesota need to have a home game opening day, or Wrigley? Like, I'm sure that this.
Well, I wonder
Wrigley.
Well, I wonder what the actual formula is on that. Are you guaranteed to have one every other year, or
I don't know, because I think the Reds used to always have a home game, and I know part of it too is kind of this is pushed back a little bit, but still it's April 7th. That there's probably going to be some weather on the east and in these cold areas. Can we just put these teams out in the West Coast? Or Toronto's covered, Houston can be covered, Milwaukee can be covered.
Just remember, as we both learned from LHN, TV controls everything.
Yeah, I know. So we're talking about Red Sox, Yankees. It's they're gonna try to figure out a way to put them on television early in the season.
The one thing that's so annoying is I saw someone tweet about this, and it's arguably two of the best human baseball players on the planet are playing at 9:00 Central Time with Ohtani and Trout playing at that. Just that doesn't, we talked about it the other day. Major League Baseball is starting to capitalize some more on the marketing side, but that's a pretty good example of how showing that they're not all the way back.
Right. Yeah. You probably want to put that guy into prime time if you can. And I saw they came out with something yesterday about the Peacock streaming, and that they're actually going to have I think this is good. They'll have some early games. I think it's 9 a.m. Pacific kind of games once a weekend or something like that. So kind of spread things out and get more of the hourly window and stuff like that. But we'll talk some more baseball, Major League Baseball at the end of this one here. But we saw some good stuff on Tuesday. You in the DFW area, me down in the Woodlands. We picked some winners. We picked some good ones to go to.
Yeah,
which
we
is
did.
always a really good feeling when you don't have FOMO about some other game or something like that, which we had a feeling that we would with these ones. But let's start with your guy first, because some news there beyond their performance is what happened on the recruiting side the morning after their performance on the mound.
Yeah, no, I got over to see Lovejoy versus Rock Hill, and was excited to get another look at Jack Livingstone because he's just been really good this spring. Starting to get a lot of buzz. Was committed to Temple, and now is a Red Raider. After, I don't know how much his performance on Tuesday swayed this. I think he probably was offered ahead of time, or at least had been in conversations for it. But yeah, a complete game no hitter. Just dominant performance by Jack. I think he's starting to get a better feel for. For a lot of these young guys that have balls that move so much, it can be tough to control it. And granted, the first time out that I saw him, it was negative 10 degrees. It felt like, so that I'm sure affected the command a little bit, but there was some noticeable small adjustments, I felt like, in his delivery, and he just had everything working, through some really good changeups, through some good breaking balls, through to the inside of the plate. It looked like some two-seamers, and then a lot of a lot of cutters as opposed to a four-seamer, it looked like. And he just got that natural cut in his delivery. But a lot of times it's tough for those guys that have that to get back to the other side of the plate. And he didn't seem to have that problem on Tuesday at all. But
Clearly, I mean,
yeah,
didn't give up a hit.
Yeah, and just every single no hitter, you feel like there's just one play that's made that saves it. And there was probably the only, honestly, the only hit or well hit ball was a line drive to third in 2024 from Lovejoy. Matthew Maynard made a jumping catch, leaping catch, whatever you want to call it. But it was about the only real threat that they faced. I know he hit a guy and I think walked one, but for one of those, as soon as they got on, he erased it with the double play up the middle that was turned by the Branch brothers.
Nice.
Yeah, so both of those guys looked good. That was the best I've seen Colby. Obviously, I know some people saw the video, but he hit 2 home runs. One of them was an absolute bomb that I tweeted out. And shout out to Miss Shanna, the Lovejoy mom that was doing all the video, game changer, pocket radar all at once. Like, I mean,
the 5-tool mom of, like, you know, and
yes.
I mean that in the company sense. No, she's not affiliated with this, but like she seems to embrace the 5-tool style, but also 5 tools from that she could do everything. It sounded
it was like, I mean, she was making all of us that were at the game, the scouts that were there, look bad. I mean, she's over here, you know, like for a while I thought she had to have had 3 hands, but she's running pocket radar, game changer, and getting good video all at the same time. But she's actually the one that got the really good video of Colby's first home run. And apparently it's his second 2 home run game in the last week. So, so heating up big time, you know, to go back to our NBA Jam days. But yeah, I mean, Lovejoy, they, you know, you talk about some of these teams that are just loaded with prospects. Lovejoy definitely fits that box. And he, or, you know, they're going to go a long way because they play really good baseball. The one thing I do love, you know, I mean, amongst other things, about these district games now is that they take infield. And I make it a point to get there for infield because there's so much you can take from it. And you see a lot of like trends and things that make it pretty easy that play out in a game, but they were sharp, man. Like Lovejoy really, really looked good and in and out. You know, they moved the ball around quick, not a lot of downtime. You know, sometimes there's just a kind of a lull or a slow pace or just, you know, nothing, you know, it's just infield, you know, for some teams. And Lovejoy was not that. They attacked it. It was intense. It was quick. It was crisp. And that showed in the way they played. I mean, and, you know, we know how talented Rock Hill is, and Lovejoy just, I mean, you know, a no-hit performance on the mound helps, but they just kind of took it to him a little bit. But yeah, impressed with Lovejoy. I think they're going to make a lot of noise. I think they've had some injuries on the mound, but, you know, we know they've got Jack, and then, you know, the Branch brothers up the middle, 2024, Matthew Maynard at third base, Aiden Smith in center field. And that's not it. They got a bunch of guys that can play. Like the rest of them are not out of place. They're solid players. A lot of them are going to have a chance to play somewhere before they're done. But it was cool. Again, I love that Rock Hill field. It's such a cool setup, you know, and like everyone that goes there for the first time seems to comment on it. You know, I was at the game with a couple other scouts that one had been there, one hadn't, and the guy that hadn't was blown away, and the guy that had just, you know, remarked that he loved going to that field. It's a good setup for scouting. Miss Shanna, Lovejoy mom, she also made the comment, you know, because they have the little area, you know, the first row of the stands is elevated, so there's like a little walkway in front of the stands that goes all the way from dugout to dugout, that, you know, there's a few parents that sit there in folding chairs, and then there's like a whole ton of area for us to move around and get good video and not have to worry about blocking people. So both Prosper schools figured that part out, so thanks to them. But I'll be seeing the other Prosper school tomorrow night against Heath. So
yeah, that'll be a good one for sure. Yeah, you know, the infield thing is a big deal. Like, you know, something I picked up on from scouts over the years is like, if you see a good in and out session, like you get a pretty decent feel for grades, like defensive, like tool grades. Obviously you can't see range and instincts and all that sort of stuff, but you can get an arm grade. You can get a throwing grade. Like you can kind of see how guys, do they fight the baseball? Do they naturally catch it? How do they track it? What do their movements look like? Like it's same with batting practice. You get a feel for the raw power, the swing. Okay. You kind of get an idea of what this guy could be potentially. And then you see if it translates into games. But, I know we were talking about, speaking of outfield arms, Brenner Cox, like, it sounds like it's one of the better arms you've ever seen from the outfield.
Well, I mean, if, assuming he makes his way to Texas instead of the draft, I think he'll have the best outfield arm at Texas since Connor Rowe back in 2010. Wow. And Connor was just one of those guys that, like, kind of built the same, real athletic, wiry. But man, you just love to watch him throw. And it was almost sad if he didn't throw, on days where, on like Sundays, a lot of times we wouldn't throw from the outfield, just to, save some bullets for the outfielders. But I mean, it was kind of sad to know you're not going to get to see him throw, but that's how Brenner was. I mean, it is easy, and it is like, it just has carry, and it is fun to watch. Definitely the best outfield arm I've seen this spring. I think the other one I really liked was the kid from Hallsville, the center fielder. I don't have my notes, but but like you said, it's kind of like the running hard to first base during a game. Like, you may be out, but you can give somebody something.
Yes.
And just, the college level, especially, those guys really, really zone in on BP and infield. Because like you said, they're looking for those tools and the grades. And so, it is always, I like to see who takes a professional approach, and, are you out of control? Are you trying to throw it 100 miles an hour? Like, people want to see arms, but that doesn't mean just, take 5 crow hops and throw it across the infield as hard as you can. Like, be in control, play good catch, and just act like you care, just that professional approach to it, can go a long way. And it shows the actions, it shows your movements, like you said, and it's important.
It's very important. So Livingstone, whenever we do the final 55 update, which is going to be after the high school season, I mean, there's just no reason to do it right now. I mean, there's still playoffs and everything else, and he's going to be in it. Spoiler. Spoiler. He's going to be in it. I think that, we've talked about some of these arms, and we were kind of looking heading into the season, like who is going to kind of take that next jump and that sort of thing. And, Cole Phillips did that, prior to the injury, but even with the injury, we know that, hey, the track record of guys coming back from this, that sort of thing, he's young, like this stuff and the velocity are going to be there once he comes back. I got to think if you're kind of going down the list of right-handed pitchers in the state, obviously Chase Shores, you saw him. We know how good Chase Shores is and stuff like that. But I saw Luke Jackson, and I'm going to see him again because this was his first start coming back from a back issue, and he only threw, I think, 3 innings or 4 innings. And I'm in on that one. I think that guy's got a chance to be special. But beyond that, it's like Jack Livingstone might be pitching his way into being, one of the dudes from the right-handed side on the mound, which top 30, top 25 kind of prospect in the state. I mean, you've seen him a couple of times, but I've seen video, and everything moves horizontally. There's control, there's physicality, there's competitiveness, there's obviously the ability to hold his stuff. Like that's I mean, Texas Tech jumps on it, but that's a guy that he might attract some more pro scouts as the season goes on too, just as those guys need to make sure that, hey, I need to make sure that this isn't a guy we need to try to buy out of his commitment for college. But I think that he's probably pitching his way into being one of the best 35, 30, 25 prospects in the state of Texas.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Like it's an opportunity. He's taken the opportunity. He marries the projectability and also the performance. And if you can combine those two things and still have some projection in there, it's like he's a long way from a finished product. And I know we've talked about it before, but he reminds me of Tanner Sheppers. And just from
physical, really hard.
Yeah, he was a triple digit guy.
Yeah.
And like I think we talked about it a little bit last episode, but I got to spend his first summer pitching on the same team with him, and they kind of have the same demeanor too. A little bit like, it sounds like a little bit goofy off the field, but man, like, super competitive when they're on the mound. And they even kind of look alike. I don't know. I can't get it out of my mind, but that first summer where Tanner was learning to pitch, he went to Fresno State as a shortstop. It was painful for the rest of the California Collegiate League. And it was not like, he hit quite a few guys and hit quite a few. And I can promise you it wasn't a comfortable at bat. And that's kind of, I think, how guys must feel against Jack, because it's long, it's physical, it's hard. It's in your face. And, he's still got enough of that element to where you kind of wonders, like, does he really know where it's going?
Yeah.
But, and he appears to use that to his advantage.
Yeah. It looks like an uncomfortable at bat, just the way it kind of comes downhill at you, and then the way everything moves, and like it looks like something that high school guys probably don't enjoy getting the box and facing. So yeah, it's exciting. There's a senior making this jump. That's every year there are a few, especially on the pitching side, that just kind of take off. And I plan to go see a guy on Tuesday down in the Katy area who's kind of getting that sort of buzz as well. Cinco Ranch right-hander Zach Royce. Just kind of time's up. They got a non-district game Saturday. They're not playing Friday, so they're skipping the start. And I was like, yes, that works out perfectly for me. But it's exciting to hear the guys about that, because I'm trying not to turn the page too much to the 23 class, because I went to the Woodlands and saw the Woodlands against Oak Ridge, and I wanted to see Brayden Sharp pitch, who's a 2023 commitment to Baylor, two-way player. But I think recently he threw a 17 strikeout perfect game. I think perfect game or no hitter, one of the two, but he's basically been unhittable for his last three starts. And I've had some FOMO missing out on it. And I was like, okay, Oak Ridge, good matchup. Connor Bennett committed to Vanderbilt in the 2023 class at catcher. He was actually the guy that got the big knock in the game initially. After an error, he kind of capitalized on that and got a RBI double the opposite way off of Sharp. He looks the part, really quick transfer, some definite catch and throw skill behind the plate, even though he's undersized, the way he moves and the arm strength and the hands and stuff like that. You can definitely see why Vanderbilt jumped on that one early on. But man, Brayden Sharp's gotten bigger, physical, and I think he's going to keep growing. I think there's still some more room to grow in there. You watch delivery and stuff like that. There's athleticism in the delivery, strong lead leg, quick arm. He bumped 95 in the first inning. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this 23 class, it's just Mason Bixby and Travis Sikora and Blake Mitchell, and you've seen Pompey and now Brayden Sharp, and you saw Cooper Strawn recently as a guy that's probably going to move up the list. And I'm seeing Brayden Sharp like, oh my gosh, like this is bumping 95 from the left side. Curveball was the go-to breaking ball, and it flashed at times. Had slider feel as well that he got a swing and miss with. Threw one changeup later in the game at 83 miles an hour. I think that's something that as he matures is going to be a little bit more part of the repertoire, but didn't give up an earned run, punched out 8 across 5 innings. He did walk a few guys, but he had some pretty good glove side command getting into that against those righties, which was uncomfortable for those guys. And then he would go up the ladder with the fastball, and it played well. A lot of swings and misses up in the zone. against the fastball, even when it was 90-92. I mean, it still kind of had that little bit of late ride in life up in the zone. But you just kind of look at the body and the arm speed and stuff like that, and there's a lot to like there. I think that he's a guy that, even if he doesn't add more velocity and just kind of sits low to mid 90s consistently, you could be talking about a guy that's he's going to be heavily scouted for sure. Could be talking about a guy that's definite top 5 player in the state, which is saying a lot when we start thinking about the guys that are on the list with Sikora and Mitchell, and we know their kind of reputation in the scouting community and things like that. So really exciting player. He also swung the bat well, hit 2 absolute rockets from the left side that found gloves. One line drive took a center fielder to the warning track. Another one was a line drive right the opposite way. And he's got some feel for the bat for sure in the ball. You can tell with the added strength that the ball's, flying off there a little more. I had a chance to talk to him some after the game, and he said he's noticed that, like, as he's gotten bigger and stronger, the ball's kind of coming off the bat better. But really exciting player. And I love the catching in this game. I mentioned Connor Bennett and what he can do defensively. The Woodlands has a catcher, Nathan Owens, a senior, who's, I believe, committed or signed to St. Edwards. And shout out to that staff, because he can really catch, man. Blocked balls in the dirt. I mean, Brayden Sharp was able to throw his breaking ball, whenever he wanted to, even with runners on base. He could bounce it in the dirt, because he had a great guy back there working with him and blocking and moving around. High energy player, had a 1.93 pop in warmups. Threw out a guy easily by a mile at third base in the situation. That's a really good get for St. Edwards. That's a guy that's going to really help that pitching staff, regardless if he ever hits or not. He's one of those guys that I think is going to be able to catch and do it at a pretty high level. So really good catching in that game. And then shout out to Aiden Lucas. He threw a complete game shutout at the Woodlands, and I swear it was like the guy never broke a sweat. Came off the mound afterwards, slow heartbeat, just like, okay, a couple fist bumps, like no big deal. Just threw a complete game shutout at the Woodlands. I think he's probably going to be a shortstop at the next level. I mean, he was 82-ish, sinking it, but could really spin it through the slider wherever he wanted in any count, manipulated the spin, but swung the bat well, hit a really, really hard double off of Brayden Sharp early in the game. I believe, I need to look it up, but I believe he's either Temple or Tyler Juco. I get the TJCs mixed up, but he's going to one of those. Just a gamer, man, just a gamer. That's a good get for them. And then Dylan Staples he kind of put Oak Ridge out in front in the 7th with a 3-run bomb, got a hanging slider and smashed it out to left field. He's a junior. Physical guy, got some athleticism. I think he's going to be a guy that some D1s are tracking, maybe at the mid-major level, but a talented player for an Oak Ridge team who I believe is 7-1 in district now. They've been playing really well, and we know how good that district is. But yeah, this 23 class is just going to be so much fun to follow, because we've seen a lot of really big time standout performances already from those guys, and particularly on the mound, some big time stuff as well. It wouldn't shock me if Brayden Sharp at this point next year is, sitting 92, 95 and bumping a 6 and a 7 with a breaking ball that's got a chance from the left side with physicality and athleticism. So another guy to look forward to in that class.
Yeah, I mean, that it's going to be tough. I mean, there's going to be I think you can see kind of a pick your flavor, but I mean, like, you got Mitchell, you got Sikora, you got Bixby, you got Brayden, like, and there's going to be some other people that make
there'll be pop-up guys this summer that were like, oh my gosh.
I mean, if you watch TJ Pompey pitch, I mean, like, you could see him being in there. Let's see who else. Noah Bentley is a guy that could jump. I mean, I think you're starting to get some trending toward consensus that Jaquay Stewart's probably the best hitter in the state. I mean, I've seen Aiden Smith quite a few times now, and I mean, there's a lot there. Like, I mean, it seems like incredibly low that we have him at 22 right now. Like,
right.
I mean, he's gonna make a jump, I have to think, based on the summer and all that. But I mean, there's so many guys that are in that mix. I mean, it's going to be a crowded top 10, and we're going to get in the mid teens, maybe even the 20s, and think like, what do we do with these guys? Like, it's the margin's going to just be so thin. And, I think we're hoping to get out to see area code this summer in California.
Fingers crossed.
And so like how these guys perform out there, I feel like that's probably what ultimately propelled us to put Jet number one. Was you don't have to guess on if he can hit good pitching or not. So we're going to get a good look at these guys against really good competition, if we're able to make it out there, and that's going to help shape a lot of, what we do, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's, you're going to have some repeat guys too. Cause I mean, who all was on who all was on it last year? You had Mitchell was out there
for the
underclass was out there, Big Steve,
yeah.
A lot of these guys.
Yeah. Bentley was out there.
Brayden Randall was out there.
I think Sale was out there, but he didn't play with the Rangers team. He played with another team. Same with Jerson Martin. Right. I think he was out there.
Yep.
The Jack Ray from Corpus, or not Jack Ray. Plays at Corpus Christi Ray. Jack Bell was out there. Kendall George was out there. Brayden Randall was out. Yeah, I mean, it was a really good list. I mean, Brayden Randall, like, that's a guy. It's like, okay, like, yeah, he's moving up, but it's like, this would be like if we had like the Rivals rating system where it would just be a year where you would have more 5 stars than most years, or more like really, really, really highly rated 6.0 4-star kind of prospects. Like it's a class that's shaping up to be elite at the top. But it's also shaping up to have some really, really good depth as well, which I really like the 22 class kind of in that middle tier, because there's a lot of guys in there. But I mean, this 23 class is shaping up to have that sort of thing as well. I mean, talk about a guy like Jillian Schlegel, who's kind of at the bottom of our list right now, but it's like you look at the tools and you start to watch how he moves and performs, and it's like, that's like,
I'm gonna see him Saturday.
Yeah, that's a guy that could make a big jump up the list when you start naming off the physical traits and in the tools and stuff like that. So really, really, really exciting group, this 23 class. And for some of these guys, what they're doing as juniors is just kind of crazy. Especially when they're getting on the mound and stuff like that. But a really, really fun group. And it's going to be nice, now that this will be our second summer, not full summer. I mean, I jumped in July, you were a little bit later. But it's going to be nice heading into a summer where we have a good base of like what the classes are like. We will have seen so many of these guys that are going to play in the summer. So it's nobody's really sneaking up on you. Like, first time I show up to watch a game and it's like, oh, there's Jace Lavallette out there. I didn't really know who he is. Like, who's this guy? Okay, yeah, he's really, really good. Or, oh, Blake Mitchell just shows up throwing 94 miles an hour in the summer. And he's going to be a junior. Like, those guys aren't going to sneak up on me per se. But just really, really excited about this 23 group, and excited about the way this 22 class, there's some guys kind of making some moves, and especially on the mound. It's going to be fun to watch. And that's some guys at the top too. Like I keep hearing some things about Jalen Flores and the way he's playing and kind of pushing himself up in the mix. And
that's the one thing.
Jet Williams making his move.
One thing I've noticed too is that he's a San Antonio guy, and when I start hearing more and more about him up in the Dallas area, that tells me something, because not all the guys up here have that San Antonio as part of their territory. So when some of those guys start mentioning that name and talking about him when we're at these games, like that usually kind of sticks out for me.
Yeah. And I think the way some teams do it, I don't think everybody does it. The way some do it is like this time of the year, it's like, okay, you've done a lot of your work, and here's a list of guys that if you want to go see them out of your area, you can go do it. And I imagine he's a guy that would be on that list for those North guys. That's like, hey, like if you're really itching and you want to help us, Go down and take a look at this guy, because he's got a chance to be a guy that we're gonna want to open the checkbook for and see if we can get him out of his commitment to Texas. But really exciting. And Friday, hopefully see another good one down. Seeing Sean Fitzpatrick in Concordia Lutheran, I believe against Second Baptist, but a guy I haven't seen yet that's on our 55 list, and really excited to get a look at him. But exciting times, and we get Major League Baseball as well. I'm getting a lot of I just was reminded that I have the daily lineups Twitter account. I have it on alerts for Twitter, because for fantasy baseball reasons. Like, so every time there's a lineup posted, I get a little buzz on my Apple Watch, and it's like, oh yeah, like here come the lineups and stuff like that coming out. Where are my Pirates at? Because they play today. They actually had the distinction of, so with the Guardians extending Jose Ramirez and giving him 150 million guaranteed, the Pirates now own the record for the lowest amount of money ever spent on a long-term contract, like 6 years, 60 million to Jason Kendall. Like, Jason Kendall hasn't played for a long time. So just another pathetic distinction for the Pirates as they head into a season where they're going to lose a lot of baseball games again. But at least keep Ryan Hayes back in the lineup and hitting 3-hole today. So that's
well. It's so funny too. Like when you start to see, like, if you're in fantasy mode, and then you which is so stat driven, and then you start to see some of the opening day projection lineups or the actual lineups come out, and like, there's like one guy in a lineup that's even like worth taking in fantasy.
Yeah.
Like you see some, and it's funny, like there's a lot more catchers hitting in the middle of the lineup this year than I remember. And still those guys don't even really don't go high and aren't valued in fantasy.
Right.
Yeah. But
yeah, it's you look at the Pirates lineup, and Daniel Vogelbach's leading off and Kevin Newman's hitting 5th. And it's like, Vogelbach's kind of fun because he's got to be like the biggest, like roundest, most powerful leadoff hitter I've seen in a while. Certainly not the prototypical leadoff guy, but I saw some projections the other day that it might have been Fangraphs or somebody else had 4 teams in the AL East winning 88 games. Toronto, Tampa Bay, New York, and Boston, all at 88 wins. Like, that division's going to be wild. It's going to be a fun season, especially with all these rookies coming up. I feel like predicting the rookie of the year in the respective leagues isn't a layup. Although Seiya Suzuki might be a layup in the NL. But there's just so many guys. Like CJ Abrams just made the Padres roster. Like, I think he's played how many games above AA? I mean, that's kind of the Pirates' MO, is they're not afraid to be super aggressive with their prospects and push them through. But he made the roster, and he has played a grand total of 42 AA games and nothing above that level. So it's just, teams are getting aggressive with their guys, and if they think they're talented and mentally able to handle it, they're going to push them through. So hopefully we get a good season, and we'll see if your Rangers can compete in the West. And I know Boston will compete in the East. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs.
Well,
I like the picture.
Going back to the Rangers, it's kind of like, my friend that we've talked about the last couple episodes on, that's like nutso about fantasy, the lawyer. It irks him to no end that he feels like the Rangers went like half in. Like they went really hard and got some really big name guys, and then they just stopped. Like there were some other guys that were out there to be had that could have really made an impact and allowed us to maybe compete some this year. But we'll see what happens with the pitching staff. But you're having to hope on a lot of guys having career years.
Yeah. But yeah, you are. And, especially their bullpen. I mean, what is Greg Holland going to be their main back end guys? It's going to be Matt Bush. Like that's kind of a weird. Yeah. It's like, I've heard a couple of people say this. It's, we complain about owners being cheap. On the flip side, you can't complain about owners going out and spending then, like, even if you don't think, like, we can analyze the contract and say, yeah, the Corey Seager deal was too much money, but at least they went out and spent money and got Corey Seager, that type of thing. So it looks like the Fangraphs has the Rangers projected for 75 wins. The Mariners at 80, which I don't agree with at all. Angels at 83. No, I think the Mariners will finish ahead of the Angels in the West. I mean, the Angels just, you can't, most people can't even name their second baseman and shortstop. And who knows if that pitching staff will even make it through the year. Did you see the Ronald Acuna stuff about Freddie Freeman?
No.
He did an Instagram live video with I think it was Yancey Pujols. He's a really well-known reporter on baseball, I think in the Dominican Republic. And like Acuna was like, basically like, they won't miss Freddie Freeman. Like, I didn't feel like I could approach him in the clubhouse. He used the word overbearing. And I was like, oh, those Braves Dodgers games are gonna get spicy.
That's just so stupid. Like, I mean, for one, like, that doesn't seem to be anybody else's sentiment. And two, like, what's the point? What, like, it's dumb for him.
Well, here's the thing. As a guy that was a reporter for a long time, like, we complain about these guys when they just give cliche stock quotes. Like, if we want honesty, we're getting honesty. So you can maybe he could have phrased it differently or whatever, but like, he gave an honest responses.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between like honesty and stuff that's just going to cause a lot of like drama for your whole team. Like, I think that's my takeaway on it. It's like, now that's going to be a huge story, and all the teammates are going to get asked about it. And it's just probably something better left unsaid. But yeah, that's my opinion. That's how I was raised in the social media world. So
yeah. I mean, just kind of looking through his stuff, they asked him what he was going to miss about Freddie Freeman, and he was like, nothing. And he goes, did you talk to him? No. It's like, were you guys close? We were close in that we shared the same stadium. So they had lots of clashes. Yeah, just kind of, it seemed like it kind of, from what I'm reading, it seemed like his style of play and kind of how boisterous he is wasn't accepted by Freddie, I guess. I don't know. But I'm definitely more into those Braves Dodgers games when they happen than I was initially, especially if Acuna's back in the lineup, which he should be pretty quickly. But yeah, it's I'm excited. Now we're gonna have every possible baseball going at the same time, which is gonna be fun. Checking out these rookies tonight. I mean, what is it? Yu Darvish pitches tonight. There's Julio Rodriguez. That got postponed because it's in Minnesota. So his debut will be tomorrow. But yeah, I don't have any World Series predictions or hot takes, but just excited about the game. But you got anything else to wrap us up?
No, I don't think so. Just excited about that it's a non-district double series. I don't know, non-district series, which is new for me with Heath and Prosper. But I like it because they get to play both games, and I'm excited to see Harrison Rosar. He's starting to get some buzz on the mound for Prosper. Mm-hmm. He's starting, and then Saturday gonna go over and get to see Schlegel play. They're playing at DBU. They're playing against Flower Mound Marcus. So
okay,
I always like seeing Marcus. They're coached well and play the game right, and have some prospects and some guys on our list, and be my first time to see Schlegel live this spring. So I'm excited to see him and see how he's doing and watch him move around some.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. Yeah, Flower Mound Marcus, I feel like ever since I've known what high school baseball is, they've been competitive. Often one of the better teams in their area. So that'll be a good one for sure. But well, that'll do it for episode 55. Get to Podbean, get to Apple Podcasts, get to YouTube. We're putting all these on YouTube. And make sure you're following all the 5-tool coverage on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. It's all over the place. I mean, I'm constantly amazed at the video in the stuff we get just from across everywhere in the state and things like that. It's the highlights and everything else, man. It's really, really, really cool stuff that we're doing. And I feel like it's a good way to kind of give some guys exposure and connect fans to what's going on around the state and all these big time performances and stuff like that. Especially it feels good to nail a game and you see some great stuff and you get a little video from it and exciting things are happening. And you see a no-hitter, I see a junior throwing 95. That's some good stuff there. So yeah, it's a good day at the ballpark for that. So happy opening day again. I hope your teams do well, unless you're a Yankees fan. And until we talk to y'all next time, have a good weekend and take care.